All right, and welcome back to Full Time Freedom Week. I hope you guys are having a great time so far. I'm really excited about this one because we were just talking a little bit ago. We're coming to you live. I'm actually just right off the freeway outside of Corpus Christi, Texas. It's a travel day for me, and I was like, I got to pull over. I got to get this interview done because it's just going to be a lot of fun. And then well, I've already lost my thought. But here's where we're at right now. We are going to be talking to the Wandreprenesurs, and they are live from Baja, Mexico. And we're going to learn all about how to RV in Mexico. So I would love to introduce now to the program Aaron and Lauren from the Wandreprenesurs. Hi guys, thanks for joining us this week on Full Time Freedom Week.
Yeah,
Hi,
hey,
thanks
how's it
for
going?
having us.
Yeah. So before we get started, why don't we kind of just go over your background, give us a little history about you guys, and how long have you been on the road and all that fun stuff.
So we are a family of four. It's us, and then we have a son, Kason, and a daughter, Callista, 11 and 9. And we hit the road back in 2018. So we've been on the road over 3.5 years now. We have a fifth wheel. It's a big fifth wheel. It's a Coachman Chaparral, and we pull it with a Ford F-350. And yeah, we've stuck with the same rig the whole time. We've met a ton of great friends on the road, and we absolutely love this lifestyle. We thought it was going to be a year-long trip, which was funny because, yeah, as soon as we hit the road, we said, no, this is the life for us. So now there's no end in sight, and we're just having fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's a lot of people that start without an end in sight, and sometimes they know right away whether it's for them or not, or and they go like, no, this isn't for me. I'm out. And others go like, we're just gonna keep going until we keep going, till the fun stops. So that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that's
So
us. Yeah, that's us for sure.
yeah. All right, so we're gonna talk about Baja. So for people who aren't familiar, where is Baja?
So Baja's right below the state of California, and it just extends down about 1,000 miles. It's a long, skinny peninsula. It's not part of mainland. It's separated by the Gulf of California. And I think because of that, it's kind of a very rustic, wild, wild west type area. There's really nice towns and a few big cities down there, but it's really not, you never hear about it if you're like looking up Mexico. You're hearing about Mexico. Baja's beautiful, but it's just kind of a wild, wild west, like maybe back in the 1950s of what California used to be. But we love it.
How often do you guys go down there?
This was our first time taking the RV down there. We actually have a dentist that we see in Tijuana, and so we've crossed the border. I don't know, with it ever since we started RVing. We've crossed it, I don't know, several times to see the dentist, and I guess
Just to do a little day trip. We did
yeah.
a weekend in Puerto Penasco, but this is the first time we've taken the RV down there. So it took us 3.5 years, about 3 years to work up the courage to do it because we were invited. That we would meet, they say, we're going to Baja, you should come. And we just weren't quite ready yet. But this year we were really excited to do it, and we made it happen.
So what were some of the hesitations about doing it for the first time? Because I have my reasons why I want to do it. It sounds fun, but I also have all these unknowns in my head. Paperwork, this, that, and I'm in a big rig just like you guys are. And you kind of said something about Baja, about it being the Wild West. And one of the questions I was going to ask is about security and safety, when you're down there.
Yeah, some of our hesitations were, oh, well, I've heard things about Mexico in the news that it's not safe. And people would say, oh, Mexico's not safe. So that's a big misconception. Well, it's a big thing that goes around that Mexico in general is not safe. Another thing is the size of our rigs, because we did have friends that went before us and they did say the roads are rough. It's very different driving there, which is intimidating. I mean, we had several friends who had major engine issues done to their RV. So we knew that was a possibility and that was a concern. What were some other concerns?
Internet and cell phone signal, because we both work, we both really have to be connected. I mean, a majority of the time. So I'd say internet. We actually did a little poll on our Instagram about what was the exact question? What hesitations do you have, or what scares you most about going to Baja? And safety was a big one. And I don't remember some of the others, but safety kept coming up over and over again. But it was funny. We felt more safe in Baja than many places in the U.S. It just feels very safe down there. The locals are very kind. We didn't lock up all our stuff. We left paddle boards and grills and toys and chairs and fire pits out all the time. And never had anything happen whatsoever. People really look out for you down there, and it was a really cool experience.
Oh, that's great. So let's go. We'll talk about safety a little bit more as we kind of go through this session. But let's start from a tactical standpoint. What do you need to be able to go down to Baja? Your papers, you've got dogs, you got cats, you're traveling with pets. What kind of stuff do you need to have to get all your ducks in a row before you head down to Baja?
So a big thing that you have to have is Mexican car insurance. That is super important. Some people think, oh, well, my car's covered in the US, it's fine, but you have to have a Mexican insurance policy. So that was the first thing that we did. I'm a researcher, so I went on and researched multiple companies, read reviews, and we ended up going with Lewis and Lewis, which we highly recommend them for Mexican car insurance. And we did find out that even though we were only going to spend we thought we would spend about 3 months there, it was cheaper to get a 6-month policy. You can get short periods of time, or you can get a 6-month policy or a 1-year policy. And it just made us to get a 6-month policy. So that was a big thing that you do need to have. And it really wasn't that expensive. I mean,
it's cheaper than our US, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you insured the truck as well as the camper. And then another thing, you have to have an FMM card, which is basically a temporary visa. And you can either get that ahead of time online, or it's very easy when you cross the border. You walk right into the office right there and buy your FMM. Every person needs an FMM card. And then also, of course, if you're going into another country, you're going to need your passport. We have our passports, our cards. Passport cards are a little bit cheaper than passports, and we got them right when we hit the road several years ago because we knew that we might want to drive into Canada or drive into Mexico. And passport cards are good for driving across the border, either into Mexico or Canada from the US. So you can't fly to another country with them. And also, we do have friends that just use their kids' birth certificates to cross the border. But with how much things change all the time, and sometimes it depends on what border crossing agent you get, we decided we just wanted to have passport or passport cards for each person just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, just to have a little consistency for everything too, just to know and all that. So what about pets? Do you guys travel with pets at all?
We do not have any pets, so I guess we can't really speak to that. What did you do for your pets? But yeah, we don't have pets, so that wasn't a problem for us.
And then I have a friend that tried to go down to Rocky Point this last little bit ago, and she got turned away at the border. And I was giving her a little grief about oh wow, you can't even get into Mexico. But she was saying that there was a problem with her rig, like something about her license plate wasn't right, or her registration, or something wasn't kind of going on. Do you know anything about that?
No, I do know that you need to have up to date registration, and I don't think you have to show a driver's license, but you do have to have your insurance and update registration. So maybe she was expired and she wasn't allowed to go down there. But I don't know. We just made sure everything was up to date and we didn't have any issues.
Yeah, there are no additional things you have. If you're legally driving in the US, you should be able to legally drive in Mexico. Yeah. So I'm not sure I'm not sure what happened there.
I think it was a registration thing. Okay, so I've got my paperwork, I got my passport, I got my FMM card, I'm ready to go. But is finding an RV park in Baja like it is up here? Do you just hop onto a compendium or hop on one of these apps? Or are there different rules when it comes to boondocking in Baja?
So we did not find any online reservations, but I did my research, and we did a combination of boondocking and staying in RV parks. And I did contact several of them on, let's see, on Facebook. I made one reservation on Facebook. I'm using Google Translate to translate between English and Spanish, but I thought that would be easier than calling. You can call and see if they have a space for you, or, for certain dates, but then it's just harder. So I prefer to either email or contact them on Facebook. And I mean, it's very informal down there. So there's no booking software systems in Mexico that we found or anything like that. So it's very much like, oh yeah, we'll save a spot for you. But I've heard, and it worked out for us. Like everywhere that we had a reservation, they honored that, and they have heard that sometimes you get there and, oh, we don't have any record of your reservation. It's like, I think somebody wrote it down on a piece of paper and it got pushed to the side. So, you know, but
Oh, where'd you go? You guys still there? Uh, did we? I think they're a little frozen, so we're gonna see what's happening here as we figure out. We got a comment here as we're trying to get the Wandreprenesurs back. We got a comment here about traveling with pets, and it can be fun at times. I'm wondering, Rayleigh, if you're still in the comments section, you're still watching, if perhaps you can give us some information in the comments about what's required or what you have to do with the pets. If you just drop that in the comments, we'll be able to show that up on the screen too, because that is a lot of things. That's one of my concerns is traveling with pets. What do you need? Do they have to have special licenses? Do they have to have special tags, special, shots or vet bills or not bills, but vet documentation? So just trying to figure out what the need is on that. So, entrepreneurs, are you still frozen? Looks like you guys are still frozen a little bit. This is the joy of live events and activities, and I'm sure they'll be logging back in here in just a little bit. And if you guys are watching and want to know more about Baja and RVing down there, and you want some more information, just drop it into the comments here, because that will give us a really good idea of where we want to go. This session is all about how do I do this, because I was saying offline before the session started with them is that I wanted to go down there, or some friends want to go down there, but there's a lot of questions that I just don't have answers to. So I was really looking forward to this session, and I'm sure they're going to be back online here soon. Fingers crossed. In the meantime, let me see here what's going on. Stand by and bear with us just a little bit, because it should be logging on back now. They were telling me beforehand that they were caught up in they're at the campsite. They just got back into the United States, and they were getting settled in for this, and then the entire power to the campground that they were staying at went out. So they were trying to struggle with all of that. So hopefully they're going to be back here in a second, and we'll be able to come back live with them as well in just a little bit. Let's see here. Every year, so as you guys know, this is my first year doing full-time Freedom Week, and every time you do something, you learn a little bit more about how to do this and how to do that. And I think next time we're going to have to know there needs to be some sort of, just in case scenario that happens whenever we have a guest here. So let's see. I think we might have them back here. Are you there?
we're here. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, we didn't see you anymore.
Well, yeah, we are still here, and we are still kind of rocking and rolling. So I don't know if you guys remember where you left off, but we can kind of pick up from there.
I don't know where it cut us off, because I was talking, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear you anymore. So what was the last thing you heard?
I think we were talking.
Yeah.
We were talking about reservations and how everything's just kind of a little more relaxed. And you were saying if you showed up somewhere they didn't have a reservation, that maybe it was just put on a piece of paper and kind of pushed aside a little bit, but they were accommodating. Is what you're saying? Is what I'm saying. I think the last thing that you were saying.
Everything worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Baja is becoming more popular in the winter, and so we had made reservations at a few places that some friends could not get into. They waited a little bit longer because I think they realized, oh no, we just need to stop making reservations because we're not going to have room for all these people. So I don't know. I just like anywhere, Baja is getting more and more crowded with RVers every year. So it could be totally different by next winter. Winter is the big season down there, the hot time to go. Not hot as in temperature hot. It's kind of like perfect temperature. The water temperatures were nice. It does get hot and humid in the summers. So really the winters are prime time to be there.
Yeah, okay. And so you mentioned something about boondocking as well. How do you find boondocking sites? Where do you know where you can go, can't go? Are you still parking in Walmart parking lots or going out to... Because they obviously don't have like public lands per se like you would find out here in the West.
They actually have a lot of, I mean, I don't know who owns it, but you can just pull up on almost any beach and park there, which is really nice. So we used apps such as Campendium and iOverlander. We a lot of it was word of mouth. Like a lot of things down there are not published online, and it's really we found some spots by just driving around and exploring ourselves, and nobody tells you to leave. I mean, it's very laid back there. So that was kind of cool, just exploring so many beautiful places that we didn't even see on a map or we'd never heard about, and we just kind of drove out there and parked and it was fine. So
How far into Baja did you guys go? Because you mentioned that it's 1,000 miles down. Did you go all that way down?
Yeah, we did. So Cabo San Jose, or San Jose del Cabo and Cabo San Lucas are the very tip of Baja. So we didn't stay there, but we did drive there. Went to the national park Cabo Pulmo at the very very tip. So yeah, we went all the way down. Mostly stayed on the Gulf side. We didn't do much on the Pacific side except for our last stop in Cerritos Beach. So there's still, I think, a lot of Baja that we can still see on the opposite side, on the Pacific Ocean side. But yeah, we went all the way down. We took our time going down, stayed multiple weeks in each location, and then on the way back up, we did 1,000 miles in like 4 days. So we just kind of zipped right back up to Palm Springs.
So you're saying the best time to go is during the winter, obviously, because you guys are just getting back now, and it's April. Tell me again, how long were you guys down there?
so we crossed the border on December 28th and we just got back a few days ago. So it was over about 3.5 months.
So there's with that what was it, the card, the that you get down there, like
FMM.
the FMM card. You can pretty much stay down there for as long as you want, or is there a time limit where you have to come back?
It's 6 months is the longest you can stay, and you can stay for 6 months, literally cross the border for an hour and then come right back and then get a new FMM card. But you do have to leave at the 6 month mark.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's talk about the practicality of getting down there, because like you said, you work from the road. I know a lot of people do work from the road, and internet's always an important thing because you have different cell phone networks as your coverage, your existing cell phone cover you Mexico travel. You guys have mentioned Starlink before. So how did you guys deal with the differences in internets? Was your speeds good? Were you able to work? All that?
That was definitely our biggest challenge, and we had to figure it out as we went. So we called phone providers before we left and asked them, is my phone going to work in Mexico? Because it is crazy. You can't, there's no black and white answer for every phone plan because there's so many different ones out there. Well, I have Visible, and Visible said, no, we don't work in Mexico at all. So I knew that my phone would not work at all. Aaron has, AT&T. And what did they tell you?
They said it works just the same as in the States because they own or partner with Telcel, which is the major carrier down there. But what we found was it worked. I had great signal strength, but the speeds were horrible. They throttled me, so I was less than one megabyte per second, which is enough to check text messages and emails. I couldn't really work down there. Once you get to big cities like La Paz is the capital city, Cabo San Lucas, those places my AT&T worked great. It was fast as you could expect or hope for. But everywhere else, I had good signal because they have cell towers all over, but it was just throttled. So we ended up getting a few Telcel SIM cards and just put those in some of the iPhones, and the speeds there were great. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, but we found out that you can basically buy unlimited internet for 2 hours for 75 cents. So a couple times a day, whenever we needed it, we would just buy 75 cents of internet, last 2 hours. It's blazing fast, it's unlimited, and we use that as a hotspot to just upload things or build websites. That's what I do. So we ended up working it out, and actually we have a long article on our blog about it because it took us a while to figure it out. There's a lot of details to it, but Baja is pretty well connected. Besides some of the middle of nowhere highways that you're just kind of driving through, there's a lot of dead areas, but every city has really good cell signal if you have Telcel or some kind of provider that uses Telcel.
And I do want to mention that we had two different friends. I'm saying there's so many different plans because here's two other. So our friend Alicia, she is a travel nurse, and she has some special Verizon plan that's for first responders or something like that. And her plan worked great down there. So, and then we had another friend who has a Verizon business account, and their business account worked great down there, their Verizon phone. So it really depends on so many things. So you just have to call your provider, tell them your number. They can look up and tell you all the details. But I do want to mention by the very end of our trip, I don't know if you guys know, but Elon Musk, I guess, recently turned on the roaming feature for Starlink. So even if you sign up in one address, you can roam with it and change. And so we had some friends that joined us in the southern tip of Baja, and literally the day before they'd crossed the border, because they originally, you can't cross country lines with Starlink. It would have worked in the US, but not in Mexico. The day before they came down, they switched something or turned on the roaming. And so the whole way down the peninsula, they had service. And so when they got to us, they said, oh, just use our Starlink. And it was a game changer. So as soon as that happened, we said, we need to order Starlink. So we ordered it that day, and then it was waiting for us when we came back. So that's going to be our plan next year for when we go, or I guess later this year. We want to go back every winter now. And now that we have Starlink and it's working, I know that they say it's not guaranteed to always be like that. You're only guaranteed service in the location you put in, but right now it's working. So that's going to be a wait and see.
Yeah, Starlink, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you about that, because I know I have Starlink, and then the roaming feature turned on and it was like a game changer. So then it's like, is it working in Canada? Is it working in Mexico? Is it working here? Is it working there? And really, how far out can you go from your home address without changing? And if you guys, your home address was in the States, obviously, but you were still getting service down, or your friends were still getting service down in Mexico. So that's fantastic to know. But you're right; it could change any day. But we know the technology is there, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, do's and don'ts, best practices when you're down in Mexico. You're kind of checking things out. Um, what's like what's life like down there when you're RVing in Mexico? It's a completely different culture, different language, different currency, different everything. Um, how is it like to interact with the locals? I guess the better part is what I'm trying to get at, or what I'm trying to figure out is Baja just more of a glamorized, Americanized Mexico, or can you actually get some real Mexican culture in Baja?
Oh man, I would say the only place that's Americanized and glamorized is Cabo. And that's the only place a lot of people know about Baja. They think of Cabo. They go for the nice resorts and but I mean, it doesn't even feel like Baja. Most of Baja is very rustic, very remote, and very authentic. So until we got to the very, very tip where Baja is, it was a really different and very cool, authentic experience. And I mean, we studied Spanish for almost a whole year before going down there. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be really good. And then as soon as they start speaking to you like so quickly, everything I learned went out the window. I feel like we had to relearn everything. And it was a good month before I felt even a little bit confident to carry on a conversation at a restaurant. It just took a lot. By the end, I mean, we still weren't, really good by any means, but we were having conversations and learning to speak to the locals a lot better. And we just had a little bit more confidence, which was nice. But yeah, I mean, Baja, it is interesting because when people speak of Mexico, mainland Mexico is full of a lot of bigger cities. It's just more developed in general. Baja is so different, and I don't know. Rustic is a very, very good word for it. I mean, the roads are tiny, I mean, narrow, and that was very challenging in a big RV. We had some friends that were driving one way, and we were following them, and then a huge semi truck is coming, and their mirrors just smashed into each other and
Oh,
exploded, and we saw the whole thing, just
oh, geez.
glass and metal just exploded. And then we started noticing how many cars and big trucks were missing their side view mirrors. It's like, this must happen all the time. So I mean, it's a very different experience. The road driving is very, very different. Livestock there has it is basically free range everywhere. So there are cows and donkeys, burros, everything is just roaming in the road, right beside the road. So you really have to be on your A game when you're driving down there. You're watching out for animals, you're watching out for oncoming traffic, and like road signs, stop signs are maybe 3 feet tall, or they're on the wrong side of the road. Like it's, I would say driving was the most intimidating thing, and I didn't even do it. He did it.
Okay. Let's go back to what we talked about kind of at the beginning of the session about safety and security when you're RVing in Baja. What are some of the things that you can tell people about that issue to maybe put people's minds at ease a little bit? Or not? Maybe,
I I do feel like that traveling down and crossing the border with other people really helped us in the beginning. It just helped us feel safe and secure. We had walkie talkies for drive days, and the person in the front of the line would tell us when a big rig was coming, and we would all slow down. And so, but then by the end of our trip, we had gained so much confidence that we went all the way back up the peninsula by ourselves, and it was totally fine. But anybody who's considering doing it for the first time, I really recommend going down with at least one other family, so that, I don't know, I just always think there's power in numbers. What would you else say about security?
I mean, we felt safe the whole time. I mean, because it's a foreign country, it's a different place. You always kind of feel uneasy the first couple of days you're in a place, but then you just kind of wake up the next one morning and like you feel at peace and at home. Like you can walk the streets. Every town was really safe. They say not to drive at night, when we kind of thought that was for safety issues. That's more so you don't hit a cow in the middle of the road, because it's so dark in some of those rural areas. We would stay out and have dinner, and by the time we're done with dinner, it's nighttime, and we felt completely safe in every single town we were in. You start hearing bad raps about cops and them being corrupt and that sort of thing. And really every cop we had interactions with were very kind, very friendly. They do try and maybe push for you to pay them, sometimes, but they do it with a smile on their face. So interactions with cops were pleasant, even though it got a little annoying, mainly in La Paz, which is the biggest city. It's the capital city. They'll pull over tourists for any reason. I got pulled over twice there in less than a month. But as far as safety goes, I always felt safe. You see these guys with big guns, military and cops, they're there for your safety. They're not there to intimidate you or use that against you. They're there to kind of show force, so the real bad guys don't get too comfortable. Mm-hmm. So cartel is another word that's thrown out there in Mexico. We've talked to a lot of locals. They're not concerned about the cartel. As long as you're not looking for drugs or looking to take their power, their influence, they're going to leave you alone. So a lot of locals that have lived there their whole lives have never even seen cartel activity or heard of the cartel or experienced the cartel. So a lot of those things that are just kind of, talked about in the media or just people, talking in conversation, we just never experienced any of that. And it sounds like a lot of the locals or a lot of the people that go down there year after year, they've never felt unsafe there either. So I remember the first stop we were down there, we met a couple that have been going down for 20 years, every single year in their RV. And they say they drive alone. They do it all the time. They feel safe 20 years. And so that at least kind of got us to relax a little bit early on. And then that was our experience too.
Mm-hmm. So nothing like when you're at a campsite and it's late at night, you're not hearing strange people outside your rigs like, oh my gosh, what are they stealing? And you're not saying, oh, we're going to go do dinner. We have to put everything away. We have to lock all the doors. We got to, button up and all that. You never had that kind of feel like you weren't going to have a rig when you came back, or people were going to try and break in or take your stuff. You never crossed your mind, or never happened?
No, I mean, it would cross your mind, especially early on. But again, after a couple stays, we just kind of felt a lot more comfortable and at home in Baja. And if we were boondocking on the beach with like just a bunch of people coming and going because it's a beach, and we would leave, we would obviously lock up our bikes every time, our generator, things that might appeal to, a majority of people. But even then, we never had issues. We never saw footprints in the sand of people like someone here like trying to. Yeah, we just never really experienced that. So people look out for each other, just like the RV community in general looks out. Mm-hmm. If they're around other RVers, I think there's just around a bunch of other RVers who just tend to look out for each other and take care of each other.
Yeah. What about cost savings living down in Mexico? We know everything is cheaper down there. What would you expect to pay, or what should I expect to pay for a RV park or for, diesel and all that kind of stuff, or gas or diesel, all the, stuff that you see up here, what can I expect to be paying down there? Like if I went down there now, let's just use today's pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So for RV parks, everywhere except for San Felipe, which was our first spot, and it's only 2.5 hours from the border. And I think their rates were so expensive, but I think it's just because so many American tourists just go to San Felipe and then turn around and go back. So they know they can charge that much. I don't really know why they charge that much, but San Felipe was expensive. I mean, the RV parks, they are on the beach, but compared to the rest of Mexico, it was almost twice as much as anywhere else. And so then after you get past San Felipe and keep going down, most of our costs per night were anywhere from $15 a night to maybe $25, maybe $30 a night, just on average. And that's full hookups. There were free beach boondocking spots. And then there are some beautiful beach boondocking spots where they charge $10 a night. I think at 2 different places we paid $10 a night, but you're on the water. You could never find anything like that in the US for $10 a night, just right on the water. And then some of them were.
Oh, do we lose you again? Well, I know they're coming back. I don't know why this is always kind of got this weird little thing happening with the little freezing thing, but I know they're going to be back in just a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to want to talk to you about what's going on later on today and the rest of the week in Full-Time Freedom Week while we wait for the Wandreprenesurs to come back online. Every day this week at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern, we get back here on YouTube. We do a day recap. We're going to have everybody who was part of a panel come back so that way you can ask questions, and that's free to everybody. You can just, if you want to get some more information, ask questions, but we kind of book in the day with the speakers from that day at a live session right here on YouTube, and that's again going to be at 3 p.m. every day right here on the RV Dreaming website, YouTube page, and I'm waiting for them to, I'm sure they're going to come back online. I think now, for me, one of the things we were talking about offline before this started was just about like, we're making plans to do this, but I'm in a 40-foot Super C in a big old rig towing a Jeep, and I heard about the small roads and the bad roads and popped tires and broken mirrors and and all these other kinds of things. But I also hear about how great it is and how much fun it is and how it's so unique and so different than camping in the States. It's so easy. I think that was one of the things too, is that it's just a really easy thing to do. And I think that's kind of one of the more apprehensive things that I have as well. And here they come. One stick and stand by. All right. I think we're back.
We're here. I don't know what's happening. Sorry.
I guess maybe we're both on Starlink. Maybe there's this. They're still working with that satellite internet.
Yeah, maybe now everyone's gotten in, and now we're getting that whole network issues, that slowdowns and stuff like that. So who knows? Whatever. So, anyways, I was just kind of talking about like some of the things that we talked about offline about. Well, I want to go down there, but I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do that. And just kind of recapping a lot of the stuff that you guys were saying. But advice to newbies. Do you have anything anything else that you want to add about that?
Well, yeah, we were newbies 3.5 months ago. So
yeah, you're the
doing your research and just finding out. Yeah. Just kind of figure out what you want from the trip. If you want to get rustic and just boondock in these beautiful places, you have to be prepared with solar and a bunch of things. Roads and things. But if you want just more luxurious, just stay in RV parks the whole time. A lot of senior citizens, like they're retired, they just stay in one spot, like way down south the whole winter. And it's a lot easier because you're in the same RV park for 3 or 4 months. That's a great thing to do if that's what you're looking for. So I think just kind of plan out what you ideally want to do. Do you want to see all of Baja? Do you want to boondock a lot? Or do you want to just enjoy warm weather in a small Mexico town and just kind of be a local for 4 months? So I think that'll be the first thing. Just kind of figure out what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, and I would do your research because I felt more confident doing so much research, and I did have to pull from a lot of resources. So we have put so many articles on our website. It's thewandrepreneurs.com. We have articles on every place we stayed, on what crossing the borders like, on what driving in Baja is like. We've been scrambling to get all this put up just before this live. So, and we have a few more that we'll continue to put up, but we wanted to have a resource where everyone can just find what they need to know in one spot. So definitely check out our website because it is full of information from this trip.
And tell me
Yeah, and there's a
again.
lot of, just like in the States, a lot.
Oh no,
Oh,
I was gonna
sorry.
say, tell me again the
Just like in the
website,
States.
just in case people miss that. Where do they go again?
www.thewandrepreneurs rs.com.
I'm going to put it here in the comment section below as well because you kind of were cutting out on that. So I'm going to make sure that gets put into the comment section. So in case you got cut out, just jump to the comment section. You can find it there. There will be a link, and you can go in straight to the site. But sorry, Aaron, you were saying something, and when I was trying to get that website out one more time. So
Yeah.
rewind. What were you saying again?
Just like in the States, there's Facebook groups for really anything, and it's the same in Baja. So there's Baja Gringo groups, they're called, for the entire peninsula, just for certain cities like La Paz and Loreto. So join those, and you can ask suggestions and recommendations, and heck, you can even ask for help. We asked for help once or twice, I think, using the locals there, and we got a ton of information just by utilizing social media and asking questions about people that live there or have been going for 20 years. And so again, people are usually very happy to help with the knowledge they have.
Okay. As we wrap up here, is there anything else that you think is important for people to know who want to go down and RV in Baja like you guys just did? Because I'm really excited about it. It sounds like you guys had a great time, and especially if you're going back, that's another sign that you had a great time.
Yeah.
If you're already making plans to go back next year, any other advice that you want to give out that we haven't already covered?
I would just say, just do it. I mean, RVing in general is something that, it takes some guts to like live a very different lifestyle, but it's so worth it. And people fall in love once they take that first step. So we've never spoken to anyone that regretted going to Baja. Everyone that goes wants to go back, loves it. And it really is a very cool experience. And we highly recommend just doing it.
Yeah, multiple friends of ours during this trip, it's their first time down there. They ended up buying land or buying a house down there. That's how much they liked it. That's how much they loved it. Their first trip to buy something. So they have a home base to go back to. So it really is a special place. And it gets, just like I think a lot of Mexico gets a bad rap, but it's safe and fun and beautiful. And, just be adventurous and uncomfortable because of the language barrier and just the different things. It's a different country, but as long as you're willing to be uncomfortable and just learn, there's no other place like it.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for participating this year in Full-Time Freedom Week and for getting people out of their comfort zones. There's a lot of the stuff that we've talked about on this channel in Full-Time Freedom Week about just starting and about just doing it, because you've got to step out of that comfort zone to become an RVer, full, part-time, sometime, whatever, because like you're saying, Lauren, we are a little crazy of a bunch to kind of break off the mold and kind of, do something a little different. And this is just that next step, it seems like, going down to Mexico after you kind of done a lot of the stuff here. It just seems like the next step, because we're a little crazy like that. Not that that's crazy, but yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us again. And if people wanted to reach out to you, the website is down in the comments below on this YouTube channel, the Wandrepreneurs. And anything else?
I think that's it. We want to help anyone in any way we can about RVing, Mexico, whatever. So I always answer everyone that writes us on Instagram or email or whatever. So just reach out if you have questions, and we'd love to meet you on the road too. So.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. I'll let you get back to doing whatever it is you were doing. And I'm gonna be hitting the road here myself, because we have another live session coming up here at 3 o'clock Pacific time, and we're gonna have all of today's panelists on as well. If you guys can make that too, we'd be happy to have you back. So I think I sent you all the ad info too. So, all right. Are you guys still there, or did you freeze out again? I think they've.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, we just heard you. Okay, there we go.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much. And if anyone else has more questions about Baja and RVing down there, just reach out to the Wandrepreneurs. You know, they've done it. They know what's going on there, and that's the best resource. You know, they have the resources, and you're their resource. So there we go.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And our next session is coming up here in just about 20 minutes. So stay tuned for that. All right. Thanks, guys.
Hi, guys.
Bye.
See ya.